Welcome, welcome, welcome to our December special Deal Clinic Live. I'm excited to share this episode with you. We have some interesting content with none other than our very own CEO, Chris Dowty. So you have myself, Bonnie Marshall, your host, and we will be guiding you through today's episode. Now, as usual, I've got people still coming in. As usual, there will be snippets of this going out to our social media. So you will find snippets of this on our Facebook and Instagram channels, and the full episode will be available on our YouTube channel in about a week's time. That will be Sourcing Investments Limited. Okay. So if you do want to join the platform, please register to sourcinginvestments.co.uk. Now, it is an exciting episode, as I've already mentioned. I just want to thank our guests already who are with us live. We have Alan, Jeff, Jay Bagnell, JJ, Louis, Sid, Tim, and Vaska. So thank you so much for joining us live, and thank you to those of you that will watch us on the replay. If you do have any questions, please drop those into the chat box. I will keep my eye out for those and direct them to our CEO, Chris Doughty. If you're watching this on the replay, please send in your questions to sourcinginvestments.co.uk and address that to the admin team. So that will be admin@sourcinginvestments.co.uk, and we will happily cover those with you. So I'm going to hand over to Mr. Chris Doughty, but before I do, we are going to be covering the special with regards to the compliance vault today. We'll do a quick overview with regards to how 2024 has been, and we'll also have a look and see what might be coming in 2025. But before I go there, I just want to sneak in how really proud I am that the team and the platform have been voted by the SME News and UK Enterprise Awards. We've been crowned with Best Property Investment Platform of the Year for 2024 and Best Sourcer Compliance Product 2024 as well. And with that, I think it's the perfect intro to hand you over to Mr. Doughty. Chris, over to you.
Thanks, Bonnie. And yeah, welcome everybody. And as I say, news like that is just, I say this with a lot of heart. I couldn't do this without any of the team. The team are everything, and it's just nice being recognised externally. And I think from my perspective, a lot of the work, and again with any business, not just our business, goes unnoticed. A lot of the hard work, effort, customer support, etc. And so, yeah, being recognised is a nice way to polish off 2024 for sure.
Amazing. So, Chris, I'd just love to, obviously we know in the background what's happening, but this is a special with regards to the compliance vault. But is there anything that we might see in 2025?
Well, in actual fact, so we're going to be talking about the compliance vault and what have we changed. We've upgraded it. We're always continuously upgrading the product itself. One, because of regulation changes. Two, for clients, always wanted to make sure that it's easier and more effective. But no, for 2025, we're going to be, what's the word? One of the challenges that we've noticed is that there's a lot of people out there who are going through, either been through training or in the property industry. And the compliance vault itself is very specialist with regard to sourcing agents themselves, professional agents who actually want to make a business out of finding properties, working with investors, etc. And it's dawned on us that we want to be able to expand that to the wider population and wider client base in the property industry. So it doesn't matter if you're just coming through training, if you're an existing investor. We are launching a product in 2025 which will allow you to have the total coverage, whether you're doing your own properties, whether you're working as a property manager, as an agent, as a finder or a sourcer. or you are in multiple other areas of the property industry, this product will allow you to be covered from top to head to toe, I should say, from process regulation and more importantly, cover. So when you're operating from an insurance perspective, having that cover and making sure that you do things right. And when they don't go right, having that cover. And it's something that, as I say, we've been working very hard with our existing relationships with insurers, and also obviously the systems that we've developed and the teams and the back office support. Yeah, so it's going to be not just sourcing agents we're going to be helping, it's going to be investors and the wider audience in the total property investment sector in the UK.
Amazing, amazing. So, Chris, I know that we have all been working very closely together, and with those other sectors as well, just to bring the added value to the compliance vault itself. Can you touch on the industry issues that you've noticed regarding compliance and the challenges that our agents have experienced prior to coming to us?
Yeah, I think really, for anybody who's in the property game, there's two types of people. There's people with money and people without money. And unfortunately, when I talk about with money, we're talking about capital. And I think that's obviously, if you don't have that capital, then you're wanting to do or change your life or get into property for long-term wealth generation. And unfortunately, when you've got a lot of people who are wanting to, education is key. And we work with many educational providers. We actually now have the Sourcing Investments Property Training Awards, actually, which are going to be launching in January on 2024, because we're in a very privileged position to be able to see how effective different training organizations training is, because we actually see the output of that in individuals and how they operate. There are definitely providers that are better than others, without a doubt. And I think from our unique perspective with the property training boards, we're able to assess and judge that. So for everybody watching there, please, pay attention to that in January, when we actually award that to the various training organizations for different areas, whether it be sourcer training, buy-to-let training, HMO training, etc. So again, we're trying to add value not just to our client base, but to the wider property industry to give them insight. And so going back to the whole, people with capital and people without capital, a lot of people then use, their five, whatever it may be, £10,000 in order to get education. But then the problem is then what? Training providers really at the end of the day are there to educate. They are not there to execute for you. And this is something that we saw from the very, get-go, even myself being an investor, what happens next. And especially when you're moving into one of the, using your education is finding a property. And then how do you monetize that? So it's all right having the education, but how do you monetize that? And then obviously going down that realms of, well, I've found a deal, I now need to find the investors in order to execute that. And then the plethora, great word of the day, of aspects that need to be now covered. I mean, going back probably 20 years ago, it's very different. Now you have multiple organizations, of which obviously the West and the UK particularly have an extreme amount of regulation. I'm currently sat here in Bali in Indonesia, and I can tell you it is a different planet compared to property investment regulation. So if we go back to the UK, having to, understand what, HMRC wants from you, having to understand that you have to, hold your data in the right ways with the, ICO, Information Commissioner, understanding that you have to be registered with a property ombudsman. Again, what do they do? Like why do I need to pay, a couple of £100 a year to them? And I'm following regulations from them. And what happens if I don't? And will they support me? I mean, it continues, including, when you found an investor, oh my God, now you have to do this thing called AML, which is called anti-money laundering. And then there's this other thing called KYC, which is know your client. And you have to make sure that you map it all out and take that information, make sure you save it in the right way so you don't get hacked. And then you have to, let's say, for example, you've done all of this, then it comes to the actual deal execution. You have to have things like, escrow accounts or client accounts, which have to hold the money completely independently from your business in case your business goes bust. But you can't get those bank accounts because you need a certificate from the PRS or HMRC, which you can't get unless you have a bank account. And so it just goes on and on and on. And, you know, there are some amazing, again, other companies who have tried to do this, or at least what I would call educate, educate on what I would call the regulations, educate on, from a fear perspective on, if you don't do this, here are the fines that you can go for, or HMRC can actually fine you for, which again I think is, unfortunately, when you're moving or trying to create value in any sector, fear driving, or fear driven, sorry, requirements to buy a product is not the right way. At the end of the day, people and the guys and ladies on this call here really don't care about anybody else. They only care about themselves. And so the question is what benefits does anything that I do, benefit me, my business, and what I'm here to achieve with my goals in my life, for my family and priorities. So there's a lot out there, but unfortunately, again, nobody's really stepped forward to actually create systems and processes and real true value in solving all of what I've just discussed. And this is something that, both myself and definitely yourself, Bonnie, as well, when you were back being a sourcer, is, well, how can I get help? How can I actually provide, some value? Because there's lots and lots and thousands of other people doing this, in the sense of needing this support or needing this actual clarity. And something that we haven't spoke about is the time, and time is money relative to you. If you charge yourself out at $50 an hour, then how much time and money is this taking for somebody who actually just wants to go out there, provide value to investors and actually, make a business and a living out of this. And after this is, I think we are now in version 3.0, I think, of Compliance Vault. We set out with a very, clear target of solving all of these issues, with technology, but also the people and experience around it. And again, what I would highlight to anybody on this call or anybody watching it after is, if you actually saw the background that goes on in order to support, I think we've now got 160, 170 agents on the platform. You would be shocked. And in a way that, full-time staff supporting them, systems as well. I mean, we run a pretty lean shop in a very effective, business, with systems and a tech team. But at the same time, it's still, we're dealing with humans, and humans need support. They need guidance, and it's not just one off. So, we're not just creating a product or a digital product that ticks all the boxes. The insurance elements, as well. We have, full support from the brokerage team. Again, if there's any, what I call outliers, or anything that somebody might say, oh, well, actually, can I do this extra sort of activities as well? Well, actually, no, it doesn't cover it, but let's extend the coverage and talk to the brokerage. So I think, for everybody here, the only thing I can really turn around and say is, we've been doing this for many, many years now, and being recognized is great. But if you are truly wanting to make money in the property sector in the UK, you either have to have that capital, or you either have to have that support in order to get you into a business that allows you to generate revenue, because it's hard. It's hard. And so if you're spending time, effort, and money on an aspect of your business which isn't money or revenue generating, then what are you doing? You're just a busy fool. And that's why we exist. And that's why Compliance Vault, and now the reiteration of it into version 3.0, which extends its cover, expands all of the processes and activities that it supports, is something you should genuinely look at if you're here to make a real business in the UK property industry.
Thank you for that, Chris. I really love how you've really covered all aspects of what the Compliance Vault actually does, and how sourcing investments, really support new agents. And you did mention about having money versus not having money. I think the other key aspect is, which I'd love you to expand on or even touch on is the fact now that we've collaborated with a finance company that will be able to get those businesses up and running and on their feet just by being able to split their payments across the yearly monthly payments, because that isn't really offered anywhere else or through the regulatory bodies, is it?
Yeah, correct. So, and I think probably to help people visually, if anybody's watching this, probably Bonnie bring up the landing page that we have, which is our product page for Compliance Vault, and it will show it probably quite simply as to the different elements, which includes HMRC, ICO, Verify. Actually, now that's another additional requirement that HMRC are now requiring, which is to actually do some training, which you have to pay for. The PRS that we've already spoken about. And all of these components, and again, you can see the prices on the right-hand side, 340, 40, 250, 500 for a really, really good insurance product. All of these have to be paid for up front. I think actually the insurance element can be spread at a cost. But at the end of the day, all of this, and we haven't even touched upon legal documentation, how do you onboard and have legal contracts with investors? How do you have your own GDPR policy? How do you have to have your anti-money laundering and legality documents around that? We haven't even touched about that. And the key thing is all of this has to be paid up front. So I think that in totality, I'm going to throw this out there. Am I right in saying if you were to just scroll down, it's north of 2,500. And and I say, from our perspective, what we've been able to do is optimize that and turn it into a package of 2,250. But then the real issue is that people can't afford that. And a lot of people that spend, I want to say can't afford that. They can afford it, but they can't afford it in one big go. And in actual fact, like with any business, that you have to have startup capital. And unfortunately, a lot of that startup capital, a lot of people are going into is I've invested that in my training. So that's my startup capital. But the problem is then the reality kicks in that I need, in order to exist and operate in this business, I need to pay for these elements. And so what we've done massively, if you scroll down all the way, is we've actually then, working with Premium Credit to actually be able to spread that cost on a monthly basis because everybody gets paid monthly, that kind of stuff and elements. So we've actually really listened to the clients and more importantly, provided that ability to spread that cost. And again, that's a huge take. But I'd say something like 95% of people, of the agents, utilize that. Again, it just makes more business sense to be able to spread that into a monthly payment. So again, we listen to the clients. We really look at like, what are the pain points. And again, like I said, in the background, I really wish it was just a click of a button and it was that's how it is. But there's a lot of support that goes into that as well. And never mind the pain points again, if somebody has a tight month and we have to chase them and whatever and work with them in order to make sure that they hit their payments. This is about support. And as I say, the majority of the clients are fantastic. They are there to try and make a difference and find properties and actually turn it into a viable business. And quite a few do. But then at the same time, it's a bit like anything in an ecosystem. There are a number of the clients as well who unfortunately have got excited off the back of doing their training, and then the reality kicks in that actually, oh my God, this is actually got to be, it's going to take work and effort. And it's not the dream of just, being able to post a property on Facebook and making 5 grand or 10 grand out of it. It's not how the world works. So what we're doing here is making that transition from excitement and theory and a little bit of education into actually having, 150, 160 agents who have the capacity to operate legally, effectively, and more importantly, make money.
That's great. That's great. And I think what you're mentioning there, Chris, is covering all aspects of the intricacies and challenges that any new business owner comes up against, because as you said, we get excited. We've gone to some presentation, it sounds amazing. They usually use an anomaly where someone's become free in 90 days or something like that, but that is the anomaly, it's not the norm. And when you come away from that, the fizziness, if you like, settles, and then the reality sets in of, okay, like what do I actually need to do? So with that, I just want to just going to stop sharing there. With that, I just want to um ask you, what can the agent expect? Because, there is, you touched on the fact that we do a lot of support for the agents. I think general admin setup for just to set up the compliance vault and get everything in order with regards to compliance themselves for our
Yeah.
agents is actually, it takes about 2 members of staff, 2 weeks to set up. So there are costs, and on average, it's a VA costs approximately 24,000 a year for the UK. So what would you say that an agent can expect from sourcing investments? Because we know what goes on behind the scenes, but I don't think agents realize how much time you mentioned time and the importance of it, because time is money, but I don't think they
Mm.
really realize how much time. They understand that there's the intricacies, and it can be frustrating for them, and they turn to us for the help and the support. But there is a time aspect here that it takes to actually do the setup and making sure that everything has a process and an order. So can you just touch on that as well, please?
Yeah, and without going, yeah, I think one of the things that people really listen to is what is the benefits to them, and we can sit here all day long, and I've had this. We must have had this with many a client over the last, I don't know, 5, 6 years. Is they don't believe you, and this is not just our clients. This is just, it's a bit like with kids, right? You say don't do that, or that's going to take too much time. We try this option, and they go and do that anyway to figure it out for themselves, and then they realize and they come back and it's too late. They're like, yeah, you were right. People don't listen to that aspect, but what you can, or what we can right now, is just highlight. At the end of the day, you know any potential client, anybody on this call, any watching this, in hindsight, is, if you are interested in genuinely wanting to take your education, or not even just your education, your knowledge and network, and you're actually wanting to turn this into a viable business, in the UK property sector, you need to start focusing on revenue generating activities. You have to, like making sales, making contacts, doing the fun stuff. If you want to be able to do that, you need us to be able to outsource and do all the back office stuff for you, compliance, etc. It will take approximately 2 weeks. And the only reason it's 2 weeks is because a lot of the time we have to wait for the actual information from the client. So that's the average. It's nothing to do with us. You technically, if you had everything ready, paid up front, we could do it in probably a matter of 3 days, 4 days, something like that. Then you get all your certifications, you get all your insurance, you get all your cover, blah, 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 blah. And ultimately, it's zero hassle and very minimal aggravation with regard to information that you need to work with us on, because we've done it so many times. So if you want to start your business and actually start, focusing on making money, then you need us. And if you then added the extra value of, multiple years of experience working with HMRC, working with all the different bodies, and also what's the point, making sure that we, the client is ticked all of these boxes, so it's not just yourself, you're actually working with us. We make sure that you cover that and make sure that all these boxes are ticked, especially if it's your first business. A lot of people have never even set up a limited company before, and don't really know how to, go and get the right kind of insurance cover. I mean, we go to an insurance broker, and this is a big thing of why we actually set up the compliance vault for sources, is because the cover, and even now there are, and again, we can say names, but I'm been told I'm not allowed to. I'd love to. I say it how it is, unfortunately, as my team know, but obviously in public is a different story. But there are outfits that have franchises for sources, and we've checked up on a few of the sources have come to us, and we look at the not us, but we send it to our brokers to look at the insurance cover, and they're not even insured for the activities that they're doing as a sourcer. They're going through one of the major insurers called Hiscox, and they're getting a cover for an estate agent. And an estate agent is not a sourcing agent. You're a sourcing agent, you're doing a lot of other activities which are not covered under the policies. So you're literally might as well take your £350 and flush it down the toilet, because that's about as much use and as much cover as these policies that, unfortunately, these professional outfits are not really providing any operational or execution support after the fact. And again, I can say this, till I'm blue in the face. Please just save your time, save your money, get on and start making money in your business. The rest of it, outsource it, get on with it. Because if you are penny pinching in working out how much is it going to cost, how much is it going to time it's going to take you, your business is doomed anyway. So, and the most successful guys and ladies that we see are the ones who just get it. And then by the time, within 3 weeks, they're already finding their first properties and are able to even access our database of 25,000 investors, which we've built up over the last sort of 7 years. So you've even got a sales function built into what we do. Never mind the technology and the platform, including, having your own website, having marketing of your own properties. It just goes on and on and on. And I just wish more people would, focus on the sales aspects of their business and generating money, rather than, oh, I've been busy, oh, I haven't done this, So look, at the end of the day, we really, 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 support our clients. We love our clients. Some of them can be a pain in the bum. Thank goodness I don't deal with them. That's why I've got an amazing customer service team. They've got patience of a saint. But at the end of the day, look, we're trying to add value and make a difference so people can go on and be successful. And as I say, many of them are.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, because that really you've answered my next question, because really I wanted you to touch on the fact that it's not just the compliance vault. With that, we have so much more value. You've touched on the fact that we've got, multiple thousands of investors already that we've built into our database, that we've, built across the years of the life of sourcing investments, that the agents are able to market to them, that we create the landing page. And the landing page is really important, because a lot of agents think that they need to create that website, but then it's getting the investors, traffic to that website, whereas we have already conquered those two really big challenges, actually. And then we also do, as we're here, we do the Deal Clinic Live and usually highlight an agent, which helps raise their visibility, not only with our database, but also, some of our agents have had investors reach out to them because of our YouTube channel, and they've seen them on there. So we're helping drive clients to our agents as well, and helping them build their own portfolio or pool of investors. Chris, is there anything else that you want to touch on? We have a question from Louis with regards to the course, to the sourcing, but is there anything else you want to touch on the compliance vault before we go to Louis's question?
No, I think hopefully that's summarized and covered it for everybody. And as I say, we have improved it again this year. Not just what it covers. We're now very happy that now working with other bodies who actually have what's the word? I want to say governing body. It's not really governing body, but like the PRS is for property redress scheme. We now can work with other bodies like that in the sourcer sector. And we're very happy to work with the likes of, Tina Walsh, etc. And it's great. So, if we can support the between, our organizations, a better quality operator, a more compliant operator, and more importantly, a successful operator making money, then this is just better for the UK property market, which without this, I think, would continue, we're making headroads into, what's the word, being less wild west, and actually, giving people structure and professionalism, which unfortunately many people do not in that sector. And I think that's what makes the difference between when you're dealing with investors and not. And at the end of the day, when you're dealing with investors, and being a sourcing agent, you need every element, ticked. And that includes the professionalism aspect of it. And just to go back to the investors, people talk about databases and how big is your investor database, and they give you those top level numbers, which we've given 25,000. But I can tell you, the open rate on the emails is about 42%. So of that, I mean, the database used to be 75,000. We've reduced it down with people who are not clicking. So again, that is an effective database. And that is, I think, in approximately about 60% UK and about 40% international. So again, it's not just UK focused investors, because we will talk about this in the next, sort of question or two, which about where the market has been, the property market itself. But the key thing is, as I say, there isn't a lot of money flying around, especially with the interest rates being a bit, a lot higher. There isn't that capability for people to use leverage in the same way as they did, 3 years ago. So, you have to be better than everybody else, and you have to be able to, what's the word, give no reason at all for the investor to pull out. And if that's just something to do with the fact that they don't feel like they trust you, never mind the deals being great, because there's elements of they may not even be living in the same area, right? They could be an international investor. If you don't have the right website, you don't have the right profession, you don't have the right contracts, they will pull out. They'll give any reason to pull out. And so that's something that, as I say, we've been very adamant upon all the way through our value chain of products relative to the compliance vault. Is how does it look? How does it operate? Is it effective? And if it's not effective, get rid of it. And that's why every single year we optimize and make a better product for everybody out there.
Amazing, amazing. I'm going to touch very quickly on Louis' question. He's asked, is this the same as Sitefinder sourcing course? I just want to say it's not a course, but Chris, can you answer that for me, please?
I'm not quite, I'm going to interpret the question because I'm not quite sure is this the same US site finder sourcing course? It's not a sourcing course. This is actually when you're operating. So, we actually have recommendations for sourcer training. If you're wanting to really start and get into the sector, there is the Daniel Latto course, which is £27 just as a starter, which is a very comprehensive course, multiple videos, which allows people to actually sort of get a real flavor of what sourcing is, how does it work, and it's, again, a very good starting position and a course to go to. So again, we have these all recommended on the landing page, and also of our existing clients. And then there's further advanced courses where obviously you can do like 3-4 day trainings, weekends, whatever it may be. And we also have recommendations of suppliers through that. So again, come and have a little look on the inside, and we will be able to recommend what we believe. Again, this is why we're doing the Property Training Awards. We can see the output of the clients and see the results and how they operate and behave. So again, getting the right companies and educational companies being able to support you during that learning journey. It's not a sourcing course. Let's be very clear. This is if you are operating and want to operate as a professional sourcer. This is all of the regulation, the legal requirements that you have to do. And you have to. It's not even negotiable. And I think, Bonnie, you're going to bring up a little slide, because this is the ultimate. If you do not do this, the likes of Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs will come down on you, and there will be penalties given out. And this is a nice little graphic that the marketing team put together. And again, if you thinking that you are going to just come into this sector, send off a few WhatsApps and make yourself what's the word, some money out of it, think again. If you don't do all of these requirements of all the different bodies, there are penalties. And I'm not one to lead with this, but this is the reality of it. And as I say, that's what we're here to make sure that proactively, one, you're minimizing all the risk, so that it doesn't happen to you. But more importantly, you've got the systems, processes, and procedures to prove that you've done everything you can. So this is the ultimate result of it. And that's why we're here, because I can tell you nobody in the entire UK industry sector is even bothering with any clients in this way that we are, and the product that we've created. So it's not a course.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. And I think if the viewers can see who are live here now with us, and also those that are watching on the replay, we've broke it down that it's nearly a million. It's not that far from £1 million worth of penalties.
Mm.
And 90 plus businesses have been fined already just in one year, 2023 to 2024, is an average of 8,700. So that's nearly £9,000 if you are found to not be trading with compliance. So it's
And
really
and, and
not worth
and I
this.
want to also, point this out. Look, okay, so it's a material cost. Okay, great, but it's the aggro and the stress and the pressure of an investigation. It's that's the pain. And I'm not just talking about this. I'm talking about if you've ever been investigated or ever had lawyers looking into your life or whatever. If people have been divorced or whatever like that. The process and the aggravation of it is you probably just get to a point where you're just like, yeah, whatever. I don't care about the 8,700 quid because everything else around it has just been so stressful on why, what have you got in place? And it's that process that you don't want. So, at the end of the day, this completely be avoided if you do the right things and work with the right companies in order to support you. Because at the end of the day, this isn't a scare tactic. It is simply about just doing it well and doing it right. And the reason why regulations are put in, because in the past, people haven't. And this is not new. It's been building and building, and more regulation happens because at the end of the day, the 80-20 rule, 20% of any industry, will cause 80% of the problems.
Mm.
And that's unfortunately the sector, the UK property sector. So, and then when government or regulatory bodies do get involved, then it's just a pain for everybody because these kind of regulations, whether you are a Jones Lang LaSalle, from their estate agency perspective, or Spicer Hart or any of these guys, massive estate agents, they have to do all this. But also the one man band has to do this. So it's unfortunately not relative to whether you're a one man band or whether you're a multinational estate agency, sourcing agent, find agency, lettings agent. It doesn't matter. Everybody comes under this, and that's the pain. So we're here to help spread that pain, and more importantly, solve it so you're actually better, faster, stronger, and more professional than anybody else.
Love that. Love that. Thank you so much for covering that, Chris. Really appreciate you. So, can we touch on a brief market overview with regards to 2024 and then what we might see? You also touched on the fact that we're going to be doing awards. So I'd like to hear a little bit about that. And we have had brand new Power Team members who are training actually, and we've brought them on as Power Team members onto our landing page with regards to who we are allowing help our agents as well. So
Yeah.
can you touch on the 2024 market overview, generally what's been happening there, and then also what we might see in 2025, please?
Yeah, so I mean, interestingly, was doing a market update for a global training organization the other day, and had a really good discussion with one of our power team members, Bruce, who's one of our finance brokers, and Bruce was coming at it from a very different angle to mine. But at the end of the day, we were talking about the same things. 2024 has been a real challenge in the property sector. We've seen it through transactions, literally, again, in all honesty, literally bottoming out in the sense of the amount of transactions are very, very minimal. And this is just unfortunately, completely down to the ability of access to finance and lending. So with interest rates, and again, this is the problem is it's relativity, right? So we were so used to having it in single digits of ones and twos, even 0.5% for multiple many years. Everybody gets used to the new norm and thinks that that's where it's going to stay. And then when it goes up to 5.25, suddenly the whole world stops because it's been used to that level, borrowing at that level. The party's going to continue. Whereas if you go back to 1997, I think it went up to sort of 15 to 19% interest rates. You know what I mean? So all relatively, it's still very low. But unfortunately, we're now so reliant on debt as a UK market in both consumer, in home loans, in just general loans. I think it's 83% of our home loans and personal loans are the equivalent of 83% of the GDP. per person, which is a staggeringly high number. The reason I know that is because I do a lot of research for a fund that I'm a part of. One of the things we were looking at was that relative to different countries around the world, the US are up there as well. I think around about sort of 78, 79%. And actually, the lowest in the world relative to that debt and reliance on debt is actually Indonesia at 16%. They don't have a debt market. Everything is done with capital and cash. So unfortunately, we're very, very sensitive to it. And I think 2025, there was a lot of hope towards the back end of 2024, especially from a interest rates perspective, that the interest rates would continue to drop. But with turmoils, political turmoils, and what's going on in both, wars, Middle East, Israel, etc. I think for whatever reason, the banks and interbank lending rate, and swap rates are just now gone back up, and I don't see that interest rate will be dropping in hopefully the same way as what we wanted in 2024. Hopefully it might drop in 2025, but it's just that is directly related to the ability for investors to have money. People are not sat on 2 million quid in the UK anymore. A few people are, of course, but they're probably seeking higher yields elsewhere. So I think, look, 2025 is going to be, pretty flat relative to 2024. I think interest rates will drop a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's not going to move the needle like it did in 2007. And I think, we really are now getting into the realms of, people are wanting safety with regard to returns. And this actually sort of leads on to a couple of the power team members that we've actually brought on, which include the likes of supported living specialists. There's two gentlemen called Andy and Paul. And Andy and Paul, again, when you actually come into the sourcing investments world on our system, there is the power team page. And again, the power teams are all aspects, whether it be verification and for your AML, whether it be to do with market, specialists who can actually provide, lettings and rental services, guaranteed rental schemes, whether it be finance brokers. We sit down, we interview, and we make sure that we're not putting our reputation, with others who are not decent operators, and also we monitor. We hear from clients, etc. So we're very proud to actually have those power team members and be very proud to say, these are good people. So we've got Rachel Knight, doing title splitting. People want certainty in the back end. So are you able to work with supported living and have a 5-year, 10-year contract? That's one aspect that investors are very, very keen upon. So again, as a sourcing agent, if you're able to package that up with knowing what the requirements are for the supported living and guaranteed rental schemes, whether it be for asylum seekers, whether it be, again, supported living, you can actually package your deal because people are risk averse and they want certainty. So that's one way of creating that certainty. And then on the front end, actually being more creative on finding the deals. You're not going to find deals on Rightmove anymore. I mean, one of our power team members, which is Property Filter, have an amazing system that actually utilize a lot of public data from the likes of Rightmove and Zoopla, etc., to actually manipulate it in ways that actually give you clarity and line of sight to potential opportunities. But then the question is, how do you then execute on those opportunities? So one of the other specialists that we've brought on as the power team is Rachel Knight, who does title splitting. So again, understand that you've got a property, can you actually title split it, turn it into 2 leasehold flats, etc., and being creative around that, rather than just having 1 unit, finding it, refurbishing it, selling it, or renting it out. The key thing is now, like with any mature market or maturing market, there are the opportunities out there. You just need the education. You need to understand and have more tools in your toolbox, because it is not just simply a case of buying something like here in Bali at the moment, where you can buy, a property for 200,000 and its gross yield will be 15% without even thinking about it. this is, this market here is not the UK, but it was the UK if you go back probably 15 years ago, right? You could go and buy a 2-bedroom flat up north and it would be all day long, for probably like 40 grand in Hull, and it would rent out at 15% gross yield, and you'd be willing to take that risk. That's not the market we're in now. And it won't be, and it hasn't. So you have to be more creative. You have to be able to create certainty, like those two, strategies that I've just spoken about, back end, guaranteed rental schemes, and making sure that you actually tick all the boxes to actually be able to operate legally as well. Because as the market matures, they want more professional operators. So look, as I say, this isn't doom and gloom. This is basically saying the cream will rise to the top, and you want to be working with professional outfits and products and suppliers that actually allow you to take advantage of it and go make money in a sector which is, what's the word, there for the taking. We're all here. So now it's really up to you guys and who you want to work with, and do you want to go make some money? And at the end of the day, that's hard work and skill. So we're here to provide our services. But as I say, it's 2025. I think overall will be very, very flat. But I do know that at the end of the day, even in flat markets, the success of businesses, sourcing businesses, property businesses, acquisition, finding assets that are undervalued, is not dependent on the market cycle. It's dependent on the individuals. So it's don't wait for the market, make the moves yourself, because the opportunities are always going to be there.
Love that, Chris. And you touched on, um, the most recent recession that we had, which was 2007, 2008. And a lot of people were hurt, but a lot of people were made in that time as well. And so it's really about, as you mentioned, aligning oneself with those who have foresight, who have capability, and who can provide to be able to help one, get on the right side of those kind of situations. And it is possible because it happened before. So it's not, as you mentioned, it's not all doom and gloom. I really want to thank you for that. Is there anything else that you would love to touch on just for our viewers here?
I think just as a final thing, it's, for us, we're trying to create value to our client base. You need to, in any business, be able to create value to your client base. That is key. If you don't create tangible value add, then forget about it. You don't have a business. The key thing is not getting drawn into the aspects of a business and hold our hands up. We get distracted on potential opportunities and developing new products and stuff like that. And don't keep it simple. Keep it really simple. What is your core product? What is your core offering? What do you like doing? And I think that's the key. Don't be a magpie and see 100 different potential opportunities. Pick one and execute it well. And I think, as I say, moving into 2025, we want to be able to sort of bring our systems, knowledge, and skills and bring it to a wider audience, not just sourcing agent compliance. This is for anybody in the property sector. If you're doing your own refurbs, if you've just come off Homes Under the Hammer and been a celebrity for 2 minutes, or whatever you want, property training course, you need cover. You need cover and you need support. And as the end, there's not many, even if you go to networking groups, everybody talks a great game. There's not many people actually executing and have a product to it. And we're going to have that product. So, for everybody out there listening on this, it doesn't matter if you're a professional sourcing agent or whether you actually don't know quite what you're in property yet. Make sure that you are covered. So at the end of the day, you can be, confident and certain in everything that you do. And this life is a journey, right? You might turn into be a sourcing agent and then go, oh, do you know what? I want cash flow. So actually I'm going to manage properties for people I know, or my mate's got a portfolio of 10 and he's, annoyed with his lettings agent. I'll do it for him. This product will cover all aspects with regard to property. So, as you become more specialized, our team can work with you in order to provide that cover, systems, processes, legal documentation, etc. But no, this is now for everybody. So watch this space in 2025. We are not just sourcing agent compliance. We are helping the entire industry, from investors through to sourcing agents, through to agents themselves. So yeah, that's what 2025 is going to be.
I look forward to that. I really do. And you touched on a few things there with regards to the generality, if I can even say that word, of it and how it covers the whole industry. And I think, for myself, when I started out, I didn't actually know what I wanted to do. And it was through having a very powerful conversation with a developer that I was in touch with that asked a really powerful question. Do you want monthly income, or do you want a lump sum money? And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even realize. And so I think whilst you're figuring it out, this new product that you're mentioning will be able to allow them to be covered whilst figuring it out and delving into certain aspects of
Mm.
the industry. So love that. I love that, Chris. Well, Chris, I've had all questions from our viewers. I've asked you those. If we do have any questions come in afterwards, I will direct them to you. And also anything that comes through from the replay on the YouTube channel. But with that, I would love to thank you for your time. Also your commitment to not only us as a team and the platform, but to all of our clients, whether they be our investors or our agents. You always keep their welfare from a business perspective at the heart of it. And I really want to thank you for that. And not many people do that. So really want to give you kudos for that and thank you for it all the way. And for all of our viewers, I thank you for your time. Thank you for watching us. For those of you that watch us on the replay on our YouTube channel, Sourcing Investments Limited, I thank you too. Any questions, feel free to send those in to admin@sourcinginvestments.co.uk. And with that, I would love to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a happy, healthy, wealthy 2025. Thank you for joining.